The first contact, the Krath came like a storm across dead stars. High Admiral Thexel stood on the bridge of the Eternal Resolve, watching his homeworld burn. Through the viewport, Valon Prime, jewel of the outer reaches, civilization older than most species' written history, was being consumed. Not conquered, consumed. The Krath ships moved like living things, black and chitinous, flowing across the planet's surface in waves. Where they touched, matter dissolved. Cities that had stood for 10,000 years became gray dust in minutes. Forests, oceans, mountains, all fed into the Overmind's endless hunger. Fleet status. Thexal's voice was steady, though his primary hearts hammered against his chest plates. 42 ships remaining, Admiral, down from 300. His tactical officer's mandibles clicked in distress. They're learning, sir. Every tactic we use, every formation, they adapt within minutes. Thexal knew. Everyone knew. That was the horror of the Krath. They didn't just kill, they evolved. Every battle made them stronger. Every defeat made them smarter. Sound the retreat, all remaining vessels to rally point Sigma 7. He turned from the viewport, refusing to watch his world die. Send word to the Council. Valon has fallen. Behind him the planet cracked like an egg. The Galactic Council chamber, hung in the void between stars, a monument to unity built in a time of hope. Now it was a tomb where the dying came to count their dead. 17 species had once sat these chairs. Now, 11 remained. Chancellor Vormis of the Arcturian hegemony looked across the assembled survivors and saw only exhaustion. The Velshara, whose crystalline forms once sang with inner light, sat dim and fractured. The Krelon warrior caste, bred for millennia of combat, kept their heads bowed in shame. Even the ancient processors, machine minds older than most stars, transmitted only static despair. We are losing, Vormis said simply. No preamble, no politics, just truth. The Krath have taken 47 systems in the last solar cycle. Our combined fleets cannot stop them. Our weapons cannot kill them fast enough. They learn from every encounter, adapt to every strategy. Then we surrender, croaked Elder Sarth of the Serpentine Collective, coils wrapped tight in resignation. We flee to the dark spaces, scatter across the rim, and hope they do not follow. They will follow. The words came from Ambassador Kithra, whose people had already tried running. The Krath had chased them across 3 spiral arms. They always follow. They hunger and we are food. Silence fell like ash. There is. Vormis hesitated, then continued. There is one option we have not explored. Every eye, sensor, and consciousness in the chamber focused on him. The primitives. In the Orion Arm. Sol system, 3rd planet. A ripple of confusion passed through the assembly. Then, impossibly, a laugh. Harsh and bitter. The apes? Sarth's tongue flickered in disbelief. You would recruit the Death Worlders who only achieved faster than light, travel 15 cycles ago, who still fight among themselves with chemical explosives. I would recruit, Vormis said quietly, a species that has survived on one of the most hostile planets in known space, a species that has weaponized everything from splitting atoms to viral genetics, a species that, when we sent our observation probes, was found to be planning wars even as they reached for the stars. Barbarians, someone muttered. Yes, Vormis agreed, but living barbarians, which is more than we can say for the Valonian Empire, the Kezhar Ascendancy, or the eternal machines of Proxima Terminus. The chamber fell silent again. Send the emissaries, Vormis commanded. We have nothing left to lose. They came to Earth on a Tuesday. Secretary General Elena Vasquez stood in the garden of the United Nations complex, watching 3 alien vessels descend through afternoon clouds. No weapons fire, no invasion. Just arrival. She'd spent 30 years in diplomacy. She'd negotiated peace between nations, mediated wars, built bridges across every human divide. Nothing had prepared her for this. The alien delegation approached slowly, clearly trying not to appear threatening. 3 species, 1 reptilian, 1 that looked like walking crystal, and something that might have been plant or animal or both. Chancellor Vormis stepped forward. His translator device hummed. People of Earth, humanity, we come seeking alliance. Alliance? Elena kept her voice level. We've known about your existence for less than a week. We know. And we apologize for the abruptness. Vormis gestured to the sky. But there is no time for slow diplomacy. The galaxy is at war. We are losing. And we need soldiers. He showed them the data then. Holographic images of the Krath, of worlds consumed, of fleets broken and scattered. Elena watched civilizations millions of years old crumble like sand. Why us? She asked. You have ships that can cross galaxies. Technology we can barely comprehend. What could we possibly offer? Vormis looked at her with something that might have been respect, or might have been desperation. Because you come from a world that tried to kill you every day for millions of years and you survived. Because you turned scarcity into innovation and hardship into strength. Because when we studied your history, we found a species that has never, not once, stopped fighting. We're not warriors, Elena said, though even as she spoke she knew it was a lie. Secretary General, Vormis replied, you are all warriors. That is why we're here. The Security Council met in emergency session. 12 hours of debate. Arguments. About readiness, technology gaps, the impossibility of the ask. But in the end, when Elena put it to a vote, the answer was unanimous. She returned to the garden where the aliens waited. We'll need ships, she said. Training. Time to mobilize. You'll have what we can give, Vormis promised. Elena nodded, slowly then looked up at the stars that had always seemed so distant. Then humanity's answer is yes. She met the aliens' eyes. We'll fight. Across the galaxy, in the cold spaces between stars, the Krath overmind felt a new presence enter the war. Small, primitive, insignificant. It would learn better. They always did. Boot camp among the stars. 6 months after first contact, the human armada assembled. Not an armada by galactic standards, barely a fleet really. 73 ships cobbled together from retrofitted colony vessels, mining haulers, and 3 actual military cruisers that Earth's nations had been building in secret. The aliens had provided the FTL drives, the shield generators, the energy weapons. Humanity provided the crews, and what crews they were. Commander Sarah Chen floated in the zero-gravity staging area of the UNSS Indomitable, watching her battalion assemble. 200 souls. Former soldiers, yes, but also engineers, scientists, a retired firefighter, 2 doctors, and, God help them, a marine biologist who'd volunteered because if we're meeting aliens, someone should understand xenobiology. Looking good. Commander. Chen turned to find Captain Marcus Webb, formerly of the U.S. Navy, now commanding officer of humanity's first combat-ready vessel. His voice carried the easy confidence of someone who'd learned to lie convincingly about being terrified. We're farmers playing dress-up with alien technology we barely understand, Chen replied, against an enemy that's destroyed civilizations older than our written history. So Tuesday. Webb grinned. You read the latest tactical briefing? The one where the Krath adapted to plasma weapons in 40 minutes? Or the one where they turned a gravitational weapon against its own fleet? That's the one, Webb's grin faded. The Council thinks we're going to die, you know. They're too polite to say it, but it's in every report. Insufficient preparation time. Inadequate technological integration. High probability of catastrophic losses. They're probably right. Probably. Webb straightened. But here's what they don't understand about humans, Commander. We're really, really good at learning on the job. Training Station Kepler 442 orbited a dim red star, purpose-built in 3 months by a dozen species working together for the first time in years. Desperation made excellent motivation. The Velshara taught humans quantum mechanics and energy field manipulation. The humans taught the Velshara about improvisation and making do. The Krelon warrior caste drilled human soldiers in zero-gravity combat. The humans introduced them to concepts like fire and movement and asked uncomfortable questions like, why do you always attack from the same angle? But it was the sessions with the processors, the ancient machine minds, that changed everything. Lieutenant James Rodriguez sat in a neural interface chair, his consciousness linked to a synthetic mind that had fought the Krath for 70 years. Information flooded through him. Battle formations, weapons profiles, failure analyses from 1,000 engagements. They adapt, the processor explained, its voice like wind through a server farm. Every battle makes them smarter. Every tactic used becomes useless within hours. So you need unpredictability, Rodriguez said slowly, mind racing. You need chaos. Chaos is inefficient. Chaos leads to defeat, does it? Rodriguez pulled up human military history, flooding the shared mind space with data. Guerrilla warfare, asymmetric tactics, the Winter War, Vietnam, Afghanistan. Centuries of smaller forces defeating larger ones through sheer unpredictability. The processor was silent for a long moment. Your species has lost more battles than most civilizations. Have fought, it finally said. Yeah, Rodriguez agreed, and we're still here. That should tell you something. In the medical bay, Dr. Amara Okonkwo made a different kind of discovery. She'd been studying the biological samples the Council had provided, tissue from dozens of species, including fragments recovered from Krath drones. Standard xenobiology work, except nothing about the Krath was standard. They're not just adapting, she explained to the gathered command staff. Holographic DNA helixes rotating above the conference table. They're remembering. Every encounter, every weapon, every strategy. It gets encoded into their genetic structure and distributed through the overmind. So they're literally evolving in real time, Chen said. Faster. Evolution takes generations. The Krath do it in hours. Amara zoomed in on a particular gene sequence. But here's the interesting part. They have no defense against biological weapons. None. Their entire adaptive system is built around technology and energy-based attacks. Admiral Kenji Tanaka, commander of the human fleet, leaned forward. Doctor, are you suggesting— I'm suggesting, Amara interrupted, that every species in this galaxy fights clean. Energy weapons, kinetics, maybe some exotic physics. But bioweapons? Chemical warfare? The kind of dirty, horrible things humanity banned after we learned how terrible they were? She met his eyes. The Krath have never encountered them. The room fell silent. The Council would never approve, someone said quietly. The Council, Tanaka replied, is losing. The Spartans had a saying, come back with your shield or on it. Ambassador Kithra watched the humans train and wondered if they understood what they were volunteering for. Her species had fought the Krath for 3 generations. Proud warriors, everyone. Now they numbered in the thousands instead of billions. A young human, couldn't be more than 20 solar cycles, noticed her watching. He walked over, magnetic boots clanking on the metal deck. Ma'am, you okay? I am. Kithra searched for the word. Concerned. You do not know what you face, the young man, his name tag read Patel, smiled. Not the confident smile of ignorance, but something sadder, wiser. My grandfather fought in a war, he said. Told me once that every soldier thinks their war is the worst one. The hardest one. The one that can't be won. He looked out at Earth, visible through the station viewport, blue and precious and small. But somebody's got to fight anyway, right? Or else what's the point? Your species has known peace, Kithra said. Relative peace for decades. You could have stayed home, hidden, survived. Yeah. Patel shrugged. We could have. But then we'd just be waiting to die, wouldn't we? At least this way, we go down swinging. Kithra felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Fragile and fierce. Your species is either the bravest I have encountered, she said slowly, or the most foolish. Why not both? Patel grinned and headed back to his unit. The final briefing came on a cold morning, station time. Every human ship commander, every battalion leader, every squad sergeant. 700 men and women floating in the assembly hall watching Admiral Tanaka at the podium. Tomorrow we deploy, he began. No preamble, no speeches about glory or duty. The Council is sending us to the Helios sector. The Krath are moving on Theris Station, a colony of 60 million souls. If it falls, the sector falls. If the sector falls, the inner systems are exposed. A holographic star map bloomed above them, showing the strategic importance. The thin line of defense, the massive Krath fleet. We are outnumbered, outgunned, fighting an enemy that learns from every mistake. Tanaka paused. The Council expects us to delay them. Buy time for evacuation. They expect us to die bravely. He looked across the assembled faces. I expect better. We're not here to die. We're here to win. And we're going to do it the human way. Messy, improvised, and absolutely unwilling to quit. His voice hardened. The galaxy thinks we're primitive. Let's show them what primitive can do. Silence. Then from somewhere in the back, someone started a slow clap. It spread, grew, became a roar that shook the station's bulkheads. That night, Chen couldn't sleep. She floated by her cabin viewport, watching the alien stars. Somewhere out there, the Krath were coming, an enemy that had broken empires. That consumed worlds, her comm chimed. Webb, can't sleep either? He asked. Thinking about my daughter, Chen admitted. She's 7. Asked me why I had to leave Earth. What did you tell her? That sometimes grown-ups have to do scary things so kids don't have to. Chen smiled sadly. She said that was stupid. That she'd rather have her mom. She's not wrong. No. Chen looked at the stars. But if we don't stop them here, there won't be anywhere safe. Not Earth, not anywhere. Webb was quiet for a moment. You know what the weird part is? I'm terrified. Absolutely shaking in my boots, terrified. But also, he laughed, also kind of excited? Like this is it. This is what humanity's been preparing for since we first looked up at the sky and wondered what was out there. Contact, warfare, and probably death? Adventure, Webb corrected. The biggest one there's ever been. Chen shook her head, but she was smiling. We're insane. Yeah, Webb agreed cheerfully. But we're our kind of insane. That's got to count for something. Dawn came to the station, artificial but meaningful. The human fleet powered up, 73 ships carrying 20,000 souls. Engineers, soldiers, scientists, and dreamers, armed with alien technology and human stubbornness. In the command center, Vormis watched them prepare to jump. They're going to their deaths, Sarth hissed beside him. Perhaps, Vormis said quietly, or perhaps they're going to teach us all something about survival. The human fleet jumped to FTL, 73 points of light vanishing into the dark. The galaxy held its breath.